So we've got George with Renegade Report. George is going to be hosting our Florida State post game, beginning with an epic battle for a second consecutive year against LSU as the Seminoles and the Tigers get together in Orlando. So George, how you doing tonight?
Man, just excited, man. Thanks for having me on here. I was really enjoying those USC guys, man. I can learn a lot for those guys, man. It looks like they have a lot of fun with what they do. Kind of like they said, I'm just real appreciative for the opportunity and looking forward to September 3rd, man, to get this thing kicked off. We've got big plans for that first post-game show in Orlando. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, thank you, George, because if you wouldn't have stepped up, we would have most likely not had a FSU post game this season, and we definitely need some Florida State post game because we're expecting big things out of the Noles, and certainly at the very least an ACC championship game appearance. But again, it starts out on a Sunday night when College Football Nation is going to be focused on nowhere else but Orlando, Florida, for a second consecutive year. And I think whoever is the one responsible for making sure that Florida State for a second consecutive year is playing, and they've done this a number of times. You know, they played Ole Miss in a similar situation in Orlando about 5 years ago. Alabama on an opening night where college football fans coast to coast had to be focused on Florida State because it was the only game in town. And so that's brilliant marketing for your school to not be competing against anybody else. They had a similar situation against Florida on a Friday night last weekend of the season to be the game and the only game that's available. And so that's great promotion for Florida State football.
Absolutely. They've had a history. That's one thing that our administration has really loved doing through the years, like you said, whether it was Ole Miss to start the season years ago in 2016, I believe it was. All eyeballs are going to be on Florida State, like you said, that Sunday. We do numbers. I believe we average around 3 million. You know, last year it was a big graphic shared all over the internet. I got to imagine this thing might be, top 5 games of the year. It's going to be a lot of fun. You've got number 5 LSU versus number 8 FSU, like you said, only game in town. It kind of stinks having to wait and go through week 0 and watch all the other games. I can't wait to get out there and see the boys take the field. But yeah, it'll be nice to be the only game in town, and we're really going to live it up. We're going to head down to Orlando the day before. Chris Frazier and James Coleman, 2 more FSU Voice of College Football contributors. They throw a big tailgate down there, so we're going to party it up and go watch the game and come out, and that's where we're going to shoot the post-game live show from the tailgate. Hopefully have some Knoll alumni pop in. James and Chris will say hello, some old Voice of College Football alumni. We're hoping Logan's going to stop by. We'll see how that works out, but it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Just a lot of fun down in Orlando on Church Street. And can't wait.
Wish I could be there. Maybe next year I'll be out and about a little bit more. That's the plan, to hit the road a little bit more, and especially when it's a lone game all by itself, as I did, let's see, in 2019 when Florida and Miami played in Orlando. We made it down to highlight that game. But again, George is going to be hosting the Florida State post game. We all get together every Wednesday night for FSU Live. That's over on the Florida State channel, everyone. Every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Eastern time, with George, with Chris, with Logan, whoever we can corral that particular week. And we also want to make everyone aware of Renegade Report. It's right here on YouTube, so it's easy to find. You just type in Renegade Report in your search bar, and you can follow George and what he's got going on. So what are people going to find these days on Renegade Report?
Yeah, so we just launched our flagship podcast. So every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern, we do our live stream. This week, we got Seymour Stacks and Sam from the Listen Up podcast. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Last week, for our debut episode, we had James and Chris. So just check that out. And we also do a Twitter space live at noon Eastern on Wednesdays called FSU Real Talk. Those are the 2 main things. But just trying to keep the content coming for you guys, keep everybody up to date with camp. wrapping up. We're about halfway through camp, I'd say, and just getting ready for September 3rd and putting out as much content as we can and doing as much stuff with you guys and the voice of college football.
Nice. LSU number 5, Florida State number 8. It came down to a blocked PAT at the gun last season. Now they play in Orlando. Both teams believe that they can play for a conference championship and for a college football playoff appearance. To me, it's a coin flip. So, George, you tell me why Florida State's going to be just a little bit better.
You know, when you look at it, it's just two teams kind of in different spots as far as development. But when you look at the talent, it's really kind of close. You know, they've recruited better high school. They've got a kind of higher level of talent. But the difference to me is just going into year 4, Florida State just has a lot less question marks, you know, all over the place. The main spot is going to be that Florida State wide receivers versus the LSU defensive backs. I've had a lot of guys get on to me. You know, I guess I really, really upset the LSU crowd with kind of how we talked about the LSU wide receivers versus the FSU wide receivers. But when you look at it, their second and third wide receivers combined have like 600 yards. And, you know, Johnny Wilson had 900. Keon Coleman had 800. The last year Winston was healthy, he had 800. So I just like our depth and all our returning production. I think that's just going to be the difference. You know, I don't see Jaden being able to get the ball over our safeties' heads. If they do, then look out. It's going to be a barn burner.